Mick Gleeson of The Age reporting Jamie Elliott has committed to the Pies for at least 2 more years, believed to be on at least $650,000 per year. So I always see the name Mick Gleeson. That's good enough for me. So he's reporting in The Age today. Jamie Elliott has committed to the Pies for at least 2 more years.
Good result for the Pies.
Good result for Jamie.
Yep. Last numbers I read were 425.
Yeah, that might have been a bit low.
Okay, well,
just a little bit.
Well, he had a brilliant season.
Well, as in the reporting of it, or the actual number was too low?
The
offer,
too low.
The number too low.
Oh,
yeah,
but it's a big jump.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's what happens when there's a competitive interest in the player you want to keep. And I mean, we've said it a few times already on the late trade. 52 goals in the home and away season, and then 8 goals from the 2 matches he played in the finals. Yep. It was as good a year as you'd get for someone that size and shape. And he's got he's actually arguably at the peak of his powers.
Yeah, I mean, if all of their older players were out of contract and they had to make decisions on them all, he's probably the first one you redo. But for whatever reason, he was almost last or second last to get done. So good for the Pies to being able to stitch him up, and hopefully he can have a year. I mean, at least even in the stratosphere of this year, that'd be a good result.
Yeah, it would be.
But first, Josh, let's take a bigger look at the Dogs this morning and what's going on there. Cal Wilkie officially now out of the race to join the club. He'll remain at St Kilda.
Yes, Sarah's name's off the board. I thought he might be one we might follow a little bit longer into the trade period, but that is now sorted at St Kilda. Never requested a trade, but clearly considered a move to the Whitten Oval. Had a couple of meetings with the Western Bulldogs, met with the coach. Had another meeting lined up with Marcus Bontempelli, but never got to that. I think it's been a really bold move from the Western Bulldogs. Clearly, they've been looking to address a big hole on their list, and they went after one of the best in the business. Now, this progressed much further than the Western Bulldogs thought it actually would. It started really as something they thought Cal Wilkie would use it as leverage, and he's got a much better deal in the end at the Saints. But there was clearly a warming to coming to the Whitten Oval. There were more conversations than they expected. Ultimately, Wilkie's left money on the table.
How much?
A bit. But I believe that St Kilda's new offer is in and around that $1 million range. So a decent bump for him in the end. Andrew Bassett played an important role, which Tom Morris reported on Channel 9 last night. Now, they've got a really, really tight relationship. So he helped clinch this in the end. And I think we should see Cal Wilkie go from vice captain to captain over the off season before round one. That's been in the works for months now. Regardless of whether Jack Steele stays or go, and he is a watch during the trade period. But I think that was part of the sell of remaining at Moorabbin is to become the next captain. Played 155 straight, been a star for a very long time, doesn't miss. So I think we should see him become the next captain.
Does that sit okay with you that he could potentially shop himself around a little bit and then go on to be St Kilda's next captain?
Yeah, I don't think there's an issue with that at all, really. I mean, he's been underpaid, especially for the players that they've brought in with Jack Silvani getting that commitment and Lake Alear coming across. But his new deal will be above what they're getting paid. So
let's start today with some big news that you broke on afl.com.au this morning. It's been a big morning for you. We were in AFL House before and you were scurrying around the office, you were taking calls, you were writing stories. You got 2 big ones up. But let's start with Tasmania because they're going to be a massive player in the trade period. Probably from now onwards, because people are going to be looking ahead to 2027 and thinking of the implications of Tasmania entering this competition as the 19th team. So their list concessions have come through officially this morning, and you wrote on afl.com.au. You flagged it in about March or April, I reckon, exactly what the concessions were going to be, and they were essentially correct. So Tasmania will get access in the 2027 draft to picks 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. They must trade 4 of those picks, being picks 5, 7, 9, and 13. In years 2 and 3, so in 2028 and 2029, they will then get access to picks 5 and 9, in addition to their own pick. And within those 2 years, they must trade pick 5 and they must retain pick 9. So that's essentially the basis of their list concessions from a draft perspective.
Yeah, so they'll get 11 first-round picks over their first 3 years. Interesting to note, I would say, as part of the memo that went out to clubs today and I got access to, the AFL didn't actually put a start time on it. They didn't say this is for 2028 or for the 2027 pool. It just was about year 1, year 2, year 3 if they're built. So they've kept that vague enough that the clubs need to know ahead of this year's trade period what's going on, because as we know, you can trade 2 years in advance. But the AFL, in its release and in its communication to clubs, didn't actually say 2027 and 2028 and 2029. So just gives a little bit of flex around what's still to come and still has to be ticked off from a stadium point of view.
Yep.
The conditional license, of course, is still conditional. But yeah, they will have 11 first-round picks given to them across those first 3 years, and 6 of those selections have to be traded. Now, they could be traded, as we say. There's no stipulation on what they can be traded for as part of this, or what they could be traded in terms of players, if it's picks, if it's the value of the picks, or anything around that. So there is some room to play around with that, and that allows Tasmania to essentially, they could trade back from, let's say, pick 5 through to pick 8 in a deal.
Yeah,
from someone else, and then trade pick 8 back to pick 14 in a deal, something like that. So you could essentially turn pick 5 into more selections. That's
like we've seen clubs do in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. But the reason the AFL has done this and put the caveats on this is that they want the other clubs in the AFL, the other struggling clubs, to be able to access early talent. They've learnt from the build of the Giants and the Suns that the clubs that were middling or on the rise at that point in time couldn't get access to those early picks, and in essence were halted in their draft rebuild because of these clubs coming in. So if you're savvy enough, if you're smart enough, and if you've got enough options yourself to get involved in this from a rival club point of view, you can. So that's the draft element to this. The other parts that are significant as part of the list build rules, and we've reported on this throughout the year, but the confirmation today is that Tasmania will have 2 years to access up to 18 uncontracted players as free agents. So under that mechanism, any player who's out of contract is a free agent.
Yes.
So we know the free agency capacity now. They don't have to trade for those guys.
So let's use a hypothetical. Someone like an Isaac Rankin, who wouldn't have been a free agent in 2027 when he is out of contract, is a free agent to Tasmania.
Yep, that's correct. So he would qualify for that, and that's across the first 2 years of their build. And you can only be accessing one player per club, and that's why it's a maximum of 18 across that. And interestingly, and this is a new part of the rules delivered today, is that the clubs who lose players to Tasmania will be given at least 1, maybe 2 floating picks, where the club can actually choose where they want to use those picks, in which draft, in which year they want to use them. So that's a new element to this year's list build rules that we haven't seen before. The key part to that, though, is there's a sign-on bonus of $5 million to sit
How many million?
5 to sit outside the salary cap. So that can be used across the first 2 years with a maximum spend of $3 million in either year. So I'm so fascinated to see how the Devils play that. 4 mini draft selections over 2 years to on-trade access to star 17-year-olds. So that's a key part. That was huge for the Giants. That was a huge difference in what the Giants got versus what the Suns got. Access to pre-listing draft talents in their 17th year spread across 2 years. That's also a really significant part of this. That means that they can go to players in next year. Let's say it's all going ahead for the 2027 draft. They can go to players next year who are eligible for 2027 and say, hey, we want you. Here's a deal for you. You can sit out the 2027 draft pool, but you want to sign with us and not take part of it. It's the Dylan Shield type of model.
Jeremy Cameron.
Adam Treloar.
Yep.
So the Giants have got so many good players out of that. The Suns less so. But that was a big part of it, and they're going to have a wider spread of months to be able to do that. They'll have, of course, access to Tasmanian prospects who also will be able to sit out next year's draft and sign on to them and play in the state league before they're ready to go. They'll have access to father sons if an AFL player who reached 100 games was born in Tasmania, the Nick Riewoldt example, then those players will be eligible to go to Tasmania as a father-son. Flexible list sizes, of course. But those are the big ones, and they'll have an academy model as well, whereby they'll be able to pre-list Tasmanians essentially for the first 4 years before that's reviewed. But that's the really big, considerable moments of the list package that the Devils have been delivered. And to me, they need to get that right, and they've got a lot of mechanisms to get it right with what they've been handed.
Well, Kane, our guest today was a big success story out of the 2023 supplemental selection period. He played 19 games in that year's run to the preliminary final for the Blues, playing as a run-with midfielder or a lockdown defender. Unfortunately, 40 games later, and at the age of 28, he's no longer on an AFL list after being let go by the Blues. But Alex Cincotta, it's a great pleasure to have you on, and thanks a lot for the time.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me.
Well, what's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
I'll continue to keep playing, I reckon. Yeah, that's my goal. I still feel like I've got a lot to offer clubs, and obviously didn't go my way in the exit meeting, but I'm still keen to keep playing AFL footy.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So where does that leave you from here? What does the landscape look like and the process to try to get yourself back on an AFL list?
Obviously got my manager, so James Pitch, he's been working really hard for me in the background there. So he's been talking to a few clubs and a few are interested. So we're just waiting for the trade period to open up, and hopefully some chats can start to pick up and get picked up by a club. Yeah, so that's the goal for me.
Alex, can you tell us about that exit meeting? I guess we're told often by clubs that nothing is a surprise to players. We keep them informed right along the way and throughout the year so that when we get to the end of the year, nothing's a shock. But my question is, was it a shock that you got that news?
It was a little bit, yeah. Obviously I had my injuries this year, and I played sore and didn't quite go my way with my body, and I thought I had a pretty good 2024 season, and went into my exit meeting, and the boys just said that the club's going in a different direction, and I won't be offered a contract for next year, and it came as a little bit of a surprise. I'd obviously done some big jobs in the past, and so I was a little bit surprised, but, unfortunately that's just the system and the way things go sometimes. But, I'm keen to keep playing, and I feel like I've got a lot to offer. I'm only 28, and,
Did you feel like you were pigeonholed into playing that role, or that was the role that you felt best suited you?
Pigeonholed a little bit. I feel like coming into even that 2023 season, I played as a half-backer. At times I had to lock down on some smalls, but I felt like I had a lot more to offer, and probably a little bit Kane. I was pigeonholed a little bit, but that was the sort of what Voss needed me to do, and I'm happy to do that for the team if that's what the team requires me to do. But a little bit pigeonholed at times, yeah.
But on the line now, Josh, we have a special guest. He played 59 games for the Western Bulldogs, recently delisted, but I'm keen to find out what's the future hold, if he wants to play on elsewhere, and that player is Anthony Scott. Good morning to you, Anthony.
G'day, guys. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it was a remarkable ride for yourself, the 59 games after being selected as an SSP back in 2021. In that initial season with the Dogs, you played 21 games, I think even a few finals there as well. Recently delisted, but I guess that is my first question. What does the future hold for you?
Yeah, bit of a weird week that was last week, winning a VFL flag and then getting told a couple of days later that the club doesn't want you anymore. It's a bit of a strange feeling walking out of that meeting, but now that I've sort of absorbed it a little bit, definitely still got the drive to keep playing AFL footy. Believe I'm good enough. So now exploring options, but absolutely keen to continue my career in the AFL.
It must have been a week of seriously mixed emotions, the agony and the ecstasy. I mean, you're forever now a part of Footscray's Premiership VFL side, and I'm sure you'll have a great night tonight at the Charles Sutton. But it must have been quite weird, no, being told, actually, this will be it for you at the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock to the system. We had a great run there in the VFL final series, and was really enjoying what was happening there. And then, the elation of a grand final, nothing compares. And it's almost the polar opposite when you then get told basically that you're sacked. And you start thinking, okay, now I'm looking to what's next.
Scotty, Josh Gablich here. Tell us about your year, because you had some issues late in the pre-season, which was a reason for your delayed start to the year. But you ended up playing 19 games for Footscray. Had an awesome final series. Starred in that first half against Frankston, came off with concussion. Then your prelim was big, and so was your grand final. So tell us about your footy this year.
Yeah, you mentioned the interrupted pre-season, which was frustrating. That was sort of at the end of January, had a little knee injury, which set me back. And when you miss a bit of pre-season, it always takes you a little while to get going once the season starts. And once I got a bit of continuity and momentum and felt good with the body, yeah, played some really good VFL footy and was really proud of the way I went about it. You mentioned the final series, played some good footy in those big games, and yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the group that we had going through the final series there, especially with the Scray. And yeah, like I said, was really happy with how my output for that back half of the year, especially with the VFL.
Now, when you were recruited by the Western Bulldogs back in 2021, you put your job as a treasury analyst at Telstra on hold for 12 months.
That
you
is
put it on
niche.
hold.
Niche.
You then had to resign. Will you be heading back to the financial world if an AFL club doesn't come knocking in the coming months?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I'd have to go back to sitting on a desk, and it's very different to running around on an oval Monday to Friday and then on the weekend. I don't know just yet. Obviously loved my time at Telstra and learnt heaps there. It's a good organisation to work for. I don't think I've got the desire to be sitting down just yet. I still want to be running around kicking, chasing a footy, so not just yet.
Will you go anywhere? That's the question that a lot of players that come out of the system get asked. But with 18 clubs scattered around the country, plus Tasmania looking for VFL players, would you go anywhere to continue playing footy next year?
Yeah, I would go anywhere. I actually caught up with my manager this morning and we were talking about that. My partner is a midwife, so she's able to work anywhere, and the hospitals are always screaming out for midwives. She's very good at her job as well, so she's easily able to move too. So, yeah, because I've still got the passion and desire, would absolutely go anywhere.